Hey everybody, my name's Byron. I'm an instructor at the Crescent School of Gaming and Bartending in Las Vegas, and today we're going to be covering the topic of how to deal with bets that are over the limit in roulette. Players have a tendency to bet over the limit all the time, so knowing how to handle this is a pretty important skill. With that being said, we're going to first get started by talking about the even money bets first. So for this example, let's just say that the table maximum for any even money bet is $500, just for this case. If somebody decides to put more than $500 on the bet spot, resist the urge to touch the money or grab it or cut it down or anything like that. All you're gonna do is if the bet happens to be at or above the table limit, just make the approval call checks play to the table limit. That's going to be an important call to let floor know that someone has bet at or above the table limit, and they can supervise you to make sure that you're going to handle that action appropriately. Upon receiving approval, all you need to do is know how to handle the bet if it wins or how to handle it if it loses. So we're going to cover both of those topics right now. So let's say in this example, the player ended up betting $1,000 when the table limit is set at $500. You call your checks play to the table limit, and then floor gives you the approval. You deal your game like normal. Now, in this case, let's just say that the bet happens to lose. So if the bet happens to lose, we're going to go through our normal outside dealing procedure when it comes to taking the losers. When the time comes that you get to the point of the black, you're going to bring that into your working area right here. You're going to cut out the amount that is up to the table limit, splash it so the cameras can see, and then whatever is remaining, you will hand back to the player. The amount that you cut out in front of you in the dealer's working area that is equal to the table limit is what you will collect and discard or consume, because that was what we're going to take. We never take more than the table limit, and we never pay more than the table limit when it comes to these bets in roulette. Now that we know how to handle the bet if it happens to lose, let's talk about what happens if it wins. Now, if the bet happens to win, we're going to do our normal outside and inside procedure when it comes to taking the losers, isolating the number, sweeping the layout, and then paying the outside. When the time comes to pay that bet, what you're going to do is you're going to clear your hand. You're going to cut out the entire amount on the bet spot, and then you're going to clear your hand again. You're going to come over to your value checks, and you're going to grab only up to the table limit. We never take more than the table limit to the bet to just size in. So we will take that amount, we'll splash it on the layout, and then we're going to make the announcement, 5 black going out in this example, or whatever the value is. Maybe it's 1 purple. But either way, it's going to be an alert call usually, because you would have already announced checks play to the table limit. Floor is already aware of this. And then you're going to send it off to the bet. When you pay it, we recommend that you heel it to show the difference between a bet and a payment. If you don't heel it, it can kind of get lost into looking like a bet as well. So we prefer just heel it off and then you're good. That's pretty much how we handle how to pay those bets if they're an even money bet. Up next, let's talk about the bets that pay 2 to 1, such as the columns and the dozens. For this example, let's say that the table limit is set at $250, but the player decided to bet $300, which is obviously $50 above the limit. Some casinos wouldn't allow this and would have the dealer enforce the rule that bets that are not even money must meet the proper limit, so they can't be higher than the table limit for that betting spot. This is some casinos, not all are like that. A lot of casinos, if you see a bet like that, you're just going to call checks play to the table limit, just like we did for the even money bets we discussed a second ago. Get approval from your floor, and now we have to just understand how to handle it if it wins or if it loses. So let's get into that. So like I said before, the table maximum is set at $250, but the player decided to bet $300. Let's say that the bet happened to win. If the bet won, how much would we pay? We would end up paying $500. The reason why? The bet was $300, but we only see $250. Even if they bet more than $250, we don't see that amount. We only see the $250 that's there, and these bet spots pay 2 to 1. Anytime you pay a bet 2 to 1, it's just double the bet. So $250 times 2, $500. So what we would do is we would just bring out 5 black or whatever form that the player wanted. We would splash it so the cameras could see. We would announce 5 black going out, and then we would heel that payment next to the bet. Now let's talk about what happens if the bet loses. Now, in the event that the bet happens to lose, it's a little bit more of an involved process, but it's still relatively simple. So same example, max is 250, bet is 300. If the bet happened to lose, we're still going to go through our normal dealing procedure, and we're going to actually take that bet, bring it into our working area, splash it or cut it out in order to show the cameras what is there, and then we will bring change minus $250 from whatever their original amount was. We're going to end up giving them the change back minus the $250 to them directly. Don't put it back on the betting spot. Any losing bets in this game, there should be no bets in a losing area by the time that you're done paying everybody. Now let's move on to how we handle bets above the limit on the inside bets. So when it comes to the inside bets, this is where it becomes a lot more common for casinos to expect the dealer to enforce a rule of proper bets only, meaning that players are not allowed to place bets that are above the limit because it's way too time consuming after the number is marked to go through every single bet, remove 25, in this case maximum's 25, remove $25 from it and give back the change. It's better to do that while you're casing the layout, while the players are betting, and before the spin has started. So it's easier for the dealer to just say no one's allowed to bet above the limit on the inside, saves everyone time and headache. So that is usually the most common rule here. If you see someone place a bet above the limit, so let's say for example here the maximum is 25, which would be any way to the number or any spot on the inside, but a player decides to place $30 on that number, then we are completely within our power to clear our hands, grab that money, cut it out in the dealer's working area, count the table maximum of 25, restack it, put it back on the number, and hand the rest of the change back to the player. And then reinforce that limit, maximum is 25 or whatever it's set at your casino. So with that being said, that pretty much covers all of those, but there is one exception where all bets above the limit are allowed. Let's get into that next. All bets placed that are above the limit are permitted under one condition: if the ball is in motion. If the dealer decided to spin the ball, the dealer does not have the time to go to every single bet above the limit and systematically cut everything out and give back change and so on while the ball's in motion. This is more of a single zero thing, not necessarily common for double zero or American roulette. So if the ball's in motion, bets above the limit are permitted. We still will make the announcement of checks play to the table limit if someone decides to place a bet on any location that is above the limit. Now, because the ball's in motion, we're not going to stop and wait for floor's approval or grab the ball. We are going to consider it an alert call at this point because the game has started. The ball's already in motion. We're not going to stop anything. All bets are permitted. And then we'll wave everything off and go through our normal procedure of handling bets that are above the limit. However, in this case, if we have bets on the inside that are above the limit, we are going to grab the losing bets or winning bets, either way. We're going to grab them. We're going to cut out 25 or whatever the table limit is for your casino. You're going to restack that table limit amount. And if it's a losing bet, you will discard it. If it's a winning bet, you will place it back on the number or spot that it was located. Some casinos will still have you put the entire 30 or 40 or however much money was on that bet originally. You'll still stagger that bet high, but we will only pay up to the limit, even though there might be more than the table limit on that number. Other places will only put back what the table limit is. For example, let's say the player bet 30. We decided to put 25 back on the number and hand the remaining 5 back to the player. That's completely casino dependent. Like I said before, every casino has different rules, so this is going to be completely up to whatever your standard operating procedure for your location is going to be. If you happen to find any value in this video and you'd like to support what we do here, you guys can go to the link in the description where you can literally buy us a coffee. And on top of that, we have a couple of supporters that did exactly that. We have Ray, which is one of our newest supporters, as well as someone named Someone. I love that name. I think they just wanted to stay anonymous. And we have a monthly subscriber, which is great to have, which is Ruby Baptiste. Thank you so much for your guys' support. It's really, really appreciated. And on top of that note, if you guys want to see the next video in the series, you guys can click right over here, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.